Yes, we are live. We are live, and we have another signing. Like buses. Niclas Fullkrug, he is in. West Ham, how delighted to announce the signing of German international centre forward Niclas Fullkrug. The prolific striker joins the Hammers on a 4-year contract for an undisclosed fee. 6'2" will now move to the Premier League, where his qualities of outstanding passing, heading, and finishing and all-round physical attributes will add firepower to head coach Julian Lopetegui's attacking Arsenal. He's delighted to be here. Can't wait to get on the pitch with his new teammates. The Premier League is the best league in the world. And for me, it's the right time to move over to England and play for a big club like West Ham. I've been thinking about West Ham for a long time now. I know the technical director Tim Steiner very well because of a history at Werder Bremen together. And I've watched some games and see how much quality there is in the team. The chance to play under head coach Lopetegui is really also exciting. His playing style is important to me. I love being close to supporters, and I'm really looking forward to meeting the West Ham fans. I have a very good feeling at the moment. I'm strong, fit, and in shape, and I just want to go out there and start playing for them. Tim's obviously got on the old interview. We are delighted to have signed Niclas. I've worked with him previously, and I know what he'll bring in terms of physical and finishing qualities, as well as his character and mentality. Woo! The ball continues to show their backing by bringing in top-class players to strengthen the squad at West Ham. An excellent fit for the team and the club. He's in.
I am. When we heard about this signing, Russ, and we've mentioned this a few times, I need to get those sticky things for those things. I use nails anyway. When I heard about us signing this player, I can understand why some fans would be quite skeptical.
Totally.
But in actual fact, I've said this so many times, I think it's a shrewd piece of business. I think it's a really good bit of business. And I'm really excited to see what he brings, because I genuinely think he brings class up top. I really do. It's different for West Ham because we've spent so many years now spending a lot of money on strikers that haven't worked. A mixture of reasons, whether or not the player just hasn't suited our system, or the coach or manager at the time just hasn't utilised them to the best of their ability. But we're under a new guidance, under a new rule, and we've got a player here who has got a long, long history of scoring goals in his career. And you don't get into whether Germany qualified for the next stages of, the Euros, etc. But you just don't get into that side if you are a crap player. And I think people underestimate that comment, but it's genuinely true. I mean, you could say that about, I suppose, any player that plays any international football, but we are talking about Germany here, and we are talking about a player that scored a lot of goals. And to be honest with you, his attributes and his skill set look really fitted for the Premier League. Genuinely.
Yeah, and I think he's one of those players who, as I said, people I know who know their football. Everyone literally, I hear you up for looking for Fullkrug. He's a good player. Talk Sport. Yeah. They were talking about good player. That was literally, it was almost like that was his name. Yeah, Niclas Fullkrug, good player. But fantastic signing.
I think that's see what you said there. That's so true. Like, genuinely, like non-West Ham fans, but neutral fans, but just football fans. If you are a seasoned football fan, you know Fullkrug. This is not just like those people that are saying sit and playing champ man. It's not about that. It's not about Championship Manager. It's not about any of that. It's literally about seasoned people and usually seasoned seasoned football fans tend to watch most of the biggest European leagues in the world, and on top of that, watch a lot of European football in general. So clubs that qualify for Europe, etc. And that's why Fullkrug comes up. And like I said to you last week, Russ, my neighbour, no affiliation to West Ham whatsoever, and I mentioned Fullkrug, and he had mentioned to me last year, there's a player that plays for Borussia Dortmund you should go for. Fullkrug, he's quality. But you know what? It's one of those players that's not on the tip of your tongue. you hear someone say it, you don't listen, it goes in one ear out the other, and you don't think anything of it. And I think sometimes when we as fans underestimate a signing, those are the ones that end up being. And I'm not underestimating this. No, I'm not underestimating this.
No, but I think you're right. I think for me, it's like one of those players that, as I said, we all looked at when we signed Dawson, and I know he's a bit more money than Dawson. I appreciate that, but still, I think this one's going to be a sleeper. You know what I mean? It's going to be one that is going to make a massive impact. I mean, looking at his stats, 357 first team career games, 122 goals. I mean, last year he scored 15 goals for Borussia Dortmund in 43 games. Werder Bremen in his second spell, 46 goals in 99 appearances. Obviously, he had 2 spells at Werder Bremen. We did a little video, all you need to know about him, put it about an hour and a half ago, a couple of hours. Go back and check that out because to get sort of a bit more information about who he is. He scored 160 goals for his dad's team when he was a kid. I imagine he was like in charge. Yeah, across 8 years. No, sorry, he spent 8 years with his dad, and he was averaging 160 goals a season with his dad. I love it. Have you muted yourself?
I've muted myself. So let's add to this his international stats. He's played 21 international games for Germany, scoring 13 goals with 2 assists, making his debut for Germany 2 years ago, only in 2022. So the player is probably at the height of his career. He's probably, and we're buying a player at the height of their career, who knows how to put the ball into the back of the net, who's just come off a very successful Euros tournament personally, not nationally as a team, but scoring 2 goals in 5 games. He scored 2 goals and 1 assist in the World Cup last time out, and bangs in goals for international friendlies for fun. I find it tough to not be quite excited about this signing.
No, he's excited. To be honest with you. I mean, the season before he went to Borussia Dortmund, he was joint top goal scorer of the Bundesliga. That's how he got into the German side. He was the top scoring German in the Bundesliga. He joint top with Christian Nkunku. Obviously, he's at Chelsea now, and I think that was the first time. I think it was the first time since Miroslav Klose for Werder Bremen that they had someone who was in the top guy, and because of that got him the move to Borussia Dortmund. And he scored in the Champions League. He scored obviously in the World Cup. He scored in the Euros. He scored in the Bundesliga. He's experienced. Yes, he's not the fastest person on the pitch, but that's not his role. That's not what he does. He's very much sets up. You can imagine. I mean, Jamie Talks did a really good little TikTok video short about what he could bring, what he will bring to a Lopetegui side. And it's exciting, particularly with Somerville coming in and obviously Kudus and Bowens behind him. I
think, but the thing, sorry, go for it.
I said, and it's not going to be the end of it. It's not might be another announcement probably tomorrow.
And you have to just put this all into context again. Where we're in an area of the park where we are reasonably comfortable scoring goals with the players that we've got, and we've just added a player who's borderline prolific in front of goal, and you could just see him snatching on. Honestly, his qualities, in my opinion, and I have to be mindful of saying it's fully like this player, but it's a Harry Kane-esque style of player. So I'm not saying he does. He does. He likes to. He can collect the ball from a deep position and he'll smash it from distance. He likes to shoot, but he can also. He's not just your fox in the box player either. He does a lot of the hard work, a lot of the groundwork as well, and I really think he'll fit into this team really well. And this is why now it'll be important for, depending on what we do now in the rest of the market, I think it'll be quite important that Ings has moved on. I don't think Antonio will be moved on. I don't want Antonio to be moved on unless he wants to go. I think Antonio serves a a place. I mean, honestly, I couldn't think of any other better substitute to come on, and as long as he is willing to accept that role and prolong his career, probably for another 4 years in that role, then he could really make a good thing for himself. And West Ham could be back next season again. You know, I think focus has to now really push into the defence to make sure that we're going to shore up that area, because that's the area we've obviously conceded a lot of goals in.
Definitely, and you know, or maybe you know what we're going to do is outscore the opposition by having so many shithouse strikers and so much forward attack that you know we might see a lot more sort of 5-3s and 4-3s rather than necessarily 2-2s or 3-2 losses. It's going to be really interesting to see how it all pans out, because obviously we've still got the best part of 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks until the transfer window closes. I think now we'll be turning our attention, as you said, to how the squad is sorting out the squad a little bit. I mean, we're led to believe that Danny Ings could be he's been made available on loan, but we'd have to subsidise wages to get him out. So
there's a few things on the table. I mean, we last week, I think it was, Russ, we were sitting here and going, all right, okay, we're not going to panic yet, but when will we panic? And I'm not saying we were panicking, but there was just a bit of like, okay, come on. And then like London buses, you wait for one and three come along at once. And this feels like that. But if you go back to the night before when I was reporting on the Somerville story, that the reports were coming out saying we weren't getting anyone or getting Somerville at that point, and then suddenly, bang, the next day, 3 deals are lined up. So I think we'll hear things that we don't really expect, whether that means a couple of players heading out or a couple of players staying or a couple more players coming in. I just don't see where the room now fits in for Danny Ings. I just don't see the logics in behind keeping him. So I think practically you can look at the situation and go, right, West Ham, a year left in his contract. He's getting paid a lot of money. He's not going to be silly. He's not wanting to lose money himself. So he's not going to be, he's well within his rights to stay. I want to stay and fight. Yep. So we can't judge him on that. And do you know what? See if he does end up staying and he does end up fighting. It's not a bad position for West Ham to be in. It's still not a bad position.
Right.
Yeah. But if we need to save money, if we need to save money and invest money elsewhere, then maybe it is. I mean, maybe you do just keep him. I don't know. Like, because then if you're going to pay him up, you'd as well just keeping him.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, you know, it's having options, having competition for places, you know, that's only going to breed a better sort of performances from the players who are picked. Someone made a good point, you know, in terms of giving you options now. I mean, I still think there's something to be had for the Duran deal, and I think that gives you options from a centre forward perspective. You know, obviously different oppositions for different setups for different oppositions, not all just one way. And similarly with the imminent signing of Rodriguez as well, again, gives you different options. You could play 2 CDMs if you need to. You know, you could play Rodriguez alongside Alvarez. You could play Paqueta alongside Alvarez. You know, so it's yeah, and I just think this guy's gonna become a fan favourite. I don't know what it is.
I get the same vibes. I get Richard put it in there and said, you know, you've got Arnautovic, the West Ham bastard, really, you could call him. That's how it felt. And I'm not saying Fullkrug's like, I don't see the similar. I just see him being like a bit of a wind-up merchant, but I think he's going to be really popular within the team. I think he's going to really rise to the occasion. I think he's going to really like suck up the West Ham. What it is to be West Ham. Do you know what? Like we've always said about Pablo Fornals, I feel like he's got the potential to be the new Pablo Fornals.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know. He just gives me that vibe of like, I get it.
I think it's because he sort of looks like a normal bloke.
Yes, he looks like.
Do you know what I mean?
Like me and you.
I mean, yeah, he looks like you and me, but that's not a great endorsement. But I just think the fact, you know, his nickname is Luque, which is German for gap, because of the gap in his teeth.
Yeah.
You know, nowadays footballers are chiseled. They're all bronzed up. They've got their teeth. He can get his teeth. He's got enough money to get his teeth done, but he ain't. And also, I've noticed they've got the accents on the letters. So he's got the little accents over the U, which I don't remember seeing before from a West Ham player. So I don't know. I'm sure Nigel would know that, but yeah.
Sorry, did everyone understand West Ham's mind the gap? Did everyone
Yeah,
understand that comment? It was a Steve.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Wait,
got.
I just need to take
That's
this call
why
while you're
because
talking.
That's why because he's got like the London. That's like the London look in it when it like you got a gap between his teeth, and that's probably why I like him because he's like me. Look, I got a gap between my teeth. I'm excited. You've muted yourself again. Are you on the phone? I think it's a mixture of Teddy Sheringham and Harry Kane. In my opinion, a very good signing. Scott says Zuma, Ings, Cornet definitely need to be gone by the end of it. Well, again, as I said, it takes two to transfer. We'd want these guys. Clearly, the club wants some players off the books, and actually, someone like Cornet, someone like Zuma potentially, but unless someone buys them, nothing you do them until they run out their contract.
And the biggest issue you got to look at those three players there, and this is something you could talk about. But if you look at Ings, Cornet, and Zuma, Russ has made the valid point there. Someone's going to need to be interested to bring them in, and if it means that West Ham are looking at options to pay up someone's contract, then you're going to lose the asset at the end of the summer. Then you're going to utilize them as a squad player anyway. I don't think we're going to see a massive transition of youth players into West Ham's starting 11 this year. Especially as much as what people are thinking and are hoping. I think that's going to be like a 3-year project as such, and I think people need to have that around their head, which means that we are probably now going to look at our squad and rely, if you, in the nicest possible way, without disrespecting those players, but if Zuma, Ings, and Cornet get pushed to the last 3 substitutions on our bench in comparison to what our last 3 substitutions looked like on our bench over the last 2 seasons, then that's actually not such a bad thing, really.
You're right. And I think actually, I mean, as we alluded to, I think over the weekend, the club are now. Oh, look at them! The club are now looking at that's 30 goals this season between the two of them. The club are going to be looking at the loan options now. I imagine someone like I think Earthy, I think Orford, I think Casey, the 3 of them could go out on loan, and that is to improve their development. Now, is Fullkrug a long term thing? No, he's 31. He's on a 3-year deal, 4 years max. But what he does bring, he lets that sort of gives the likes of George Earthy, the likes of Josh Ajala in the 18s, these guys time to bleed into the side. So I think you'll see 2 or 3 of them go.
I tell you what, Russ, as well, right? And I don't think he'll be like this, but see if he's a 1-season wonder. And that 1-season wonder, a bit like, I'm not saying like I'm just using Jesse Lingard, half a season wonder. If that pushes us back into European contention or wins us another trophy, then so be it. If that, do not underestimate signing a player, giving them a 3-year contract and letting them do their business for a season. And if they do their business in a season, they've paid back their contract in an abundance if they make West Ham qualify or help, or, because again, it could go back to the end of the season and West Ham going, we just missed that top-notch centre forward. And if we had that top-notch centre forward, we would have got into 5th place or Champions League place or whatever. And I'm not saying we're going to get there. I'm just saying we're now filling those gaps that we've been missing for such a long time with quality, and they don't have to be long-term options. You've got one option here that's going to be a short-term option. It gives West Ham a bit of time to look at the long-term option. And the long-term option seems to be Duran. If they're going to push forward, try to get Duran, I wouldn't be surprised now if there's an option here for a loan with an obligation or something, because I don't think Aston Villa will want him there, and they don't want to start rocking that boat because they now have put themselves in the shittest negotiation situation ever. YouTube user, you're back, mate. I love you. Is that your? What is your name? I just want to know.
I'm surprised it took him 20 minutes to get on. He's something. I suppose he's been on the website getting the Fullkrug 24, where his name is on the back of the shirt. But
but DC, I mean, let me go back to you. The bloke has never played in a good league. It's ridiculous, right? Okay, I can understand some people slagging off the Bundesliga. Okay, I can't. Not slagging it off. I think it's a competitive-ish league. I don't think it's like the Premier League. But I don't think you need to be from a good league in the world to be able to make it in the Premier League. And I think there's so many players out there that have proven that. And if you live in Scotland and you know players like Virgil van Dijk, who played for in Scottish League and then moved up into Liverpool, and look what happened there. If you look at the Brighton model that every single West Ham fan last season wanted, then half of their players never came from the top leagues in the world. If you look at Thomas Souček for the first 2 seasons, again came from the Czech League, and gave us 2 brilliant seasons. Vladimir Sufal, exactly the same. So you don't have to play in the top leagues in the world. And then look at the players that West Ham have signed in the top leagues in the world, and look at it's not worked out. So again, that could be down to the player, the coach, the system, whatever. But what I don't agree with is judging a player from the off unless they're just horrible people, and also judging West Ham on pre-season, because I think we should be so savvy enough to know. It's
a knee-jerk reaction of that's what social media brings. It's a knee-jerk reaction where you could normally go and slag off someone down the pub, which you used to do. Now everyone takes to Twitter or YouTube comments and stuff, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. And it's something we can, although we're excited, some people aren't. The only way we'll find out is this time next year whether we're in. Looking at his performance, looking how well Somerville might end up being a crock. You never know. We never know. So we'll have to. Hindsight's a great thing.
You're going to bring all these players in, and not everyone's going to hit the ground running. But all you can do is look at what we've got as a core, and if you add a couple of little snippets of magic to that, then you start to think strength and depth. We were complaining a lot about Benrahma's output, even though his stats were quite good. But Somerville replaces exactly, if not in theory, his output looks better. Then you add that to what we've got, then that's good. We don't have a striker, and we brought in someone who scores goals. So I don't know what people. I'm not being a real dick and being so negative to the people in the chat, but if you are, our striker's combined age is 97 years old. But DC equally though, like you're totally ruling out. I mean, from the sounds of it, you're saying you only want a 21-year-old. That's what it sounds like.
Impossible. And I say it to blue in the face. Brighton signed Jane. If we signed Danny Welbeck on a free transfer, right?
People would go fucking mental.
Everyone would have gone crazy. But Brighton, who's a model that everyone thinks we need to be working towards, Danny Welbeck, Lallana. Milner's was half decent at the time, but still, it's like not everyone we bring in is going to be 21, unproven, and buying on potential. So, look, we'll wait and see what happens. I mean, the fact is, we probably, it's not. I think we spent 15 or so million on Danny Ings, and that was a wasted. It was wasted, wasn't it? So, and I think our fingers have all been burnt with buying strikers for the last 10 years, probably, in terms of the odd one here or there. But still, it was like, hindsight's a great thing. In hindsight, we can come back and go, right, yep, YouTube user, you were right. Or you were wrong. We don't know, do we?
Right. They signed Welbeck 3 to 4 years ago. They did. But they signed Welbeck when he was playing for Watford. Right, remember that he was playing for Watford, and he then signed for Brighton for, I think, is it £5 million at the time?
They paid money for him. I thought it was a free. Wow,
was it a free? I don't know. It's something really cheap anyway. And then 125 games for Brighton. He scored 26 goals and 8 assists. So free transfer or £5 million. It's not a bad return, really, is it, for a striker that was on his way out? People were saying at the time. And
we'll wait and see.
I know. I'm just trying to say, like, and I'm not saying everyone wants to be the Brighton model. We're just using it as an example, YouTube user, to people that always kind of moan about saying, why are we not signing these players, this player, this player, this player? Well, you can just look at their model, and it is a successful model in terms of making money for the club and maintaining a reasonable position in the league. But do you know what? To put a positive on it, I'm happy. Fullkrug, Mind the Gap, is in
Exactly. And it's and again we'll see how it all pans out. By the end, I still think you could get, as you said, a loan obligation to buy for Duran, because I still think that's an option, and it gives you two options. Gives you a couple of options. You got a big guy up there, a battering ram you can hold it up, and if it falls in the box, he's pretty clinical. Or you throw in Duran, and you've got 4 speed merchants rather than 3 speed merchants. It's options which we haven't had.
Quiz time. You ready?
Oh, yeah.
You'll like this quiz time, Ross. Fullkrug is set to become West Ham's 4th German player to represent us. Who are the other 3? Don't look on your computer.
No. And Kira, Hitzelsperger, and there was a bloke. Is he the 4th? He's the 4th one. There was another guy. His name was. He was in the 90s. Andreas or something like that. I can't remember. It was a 90s one. It was a random one. We got him from. We got him. He was a German international.
This one's quite an interesting one because it's a roundabout way why this one's German. It's a very famous signing, but all for the wrong reasons.
Oh, yeah. Was he German?
He played for Germany, yeah.
Savio?
Not the senior team, yeah. Yep.
Well, it would have been Savio. There was another guy as well. That's going to really annoy me.
Savio had international football for Germany.
Dietmar Erkstein. I don't think he actually played an actual game for West Ham.
No, I don't think he did.
But that's who I was thinking of. Helen, well done. And Hair Flick. Oh, dear.
So technically, Savio wasn't born in Germany. He was born in Uganda, but he played at youth level, represented Germany at youth level. So I think he must have had a German passport.
That's what I was thinking of, Dietmar Erkstein. Yeah. And I don't think he actually played for West Ham first team. I know we signed him. He was when we signed from Harry. I think it was after the World Cup or something like that. But anyway, where do you think we'll finish now?
As long as we shore up our defence a little bit more with the current team we've got, I don't think that, as long as we shore up our defence, Russ, then I can't see why we shouldn't challenge for the top 6. I don't see why we can't. I don't see why we can't. That should be the aim. Sorry. That should be the aim. But first season with new manager, I would really, worst case scenario, top 8. Worst case scenario, I'd want top 8. But I want 6. I want Europe. That's the main goal for me.
Well, I think it's the main goal for him as well, because obviously if Lopetegui gets Europe in the first 2 years, he gets the 3rd year already, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he gets the 3rd year automatic. So
yeah.
It's up to him. But yeah.
Oh, well, let me just add to this: Kudus, Bowen, Somerville, Paquetá, Fullkrug, Antonio. That's
ain't bad.
Very, very, very good. Very, very good. Let me just confirm that. I want to have a look at our forwards, right? So you've got yeah. So currently what you've got is you've got Danny Ings, you've got Somerville, Antonio, Bowen, Fullkrug, Paquetá, Kudus, Guillaume, if you want to include that, Max Cornet, options. We've got James Ward-Prowse, Alvarez, and Suchek shoring up the middle of the defense with Rodriguez on his way in. Exciting times.
Takes time.
Right.
I've been trying to find him.
He
didn't make a West Ham appearance. That's why we signed him, but he didn't make a West Ham appearance.
Didn't make a West Ham appearance.
That's why. Very good. All right. Well,
I am going to go. I hope you all are buzzing about that because I am. Be buzzing. Be excited.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming we'll be back over the next couple of days. Hours probably. To announce
Yeah,
the next
that
one.
should be another one. Yeah, indeed. Come your minds.
Oh my god. Oh my god, mate. Right.
YouTube user,
Much
God
love.
bless you.
Take
Much
care.
love. Cheers.
Heinz. Heinz.
Oh, yeah, it's always.